To solve this problem, let's first make our trusty table of values. Our problem is asking us to explore the distance in 5 hours, so we'll fill our term number column up to 5. Now we know we're looking for the distance at the 5th hour, and we know that we're traveling at 80 kilometers per hour. So if we were to make this problem into a pattern rule, it might sound something like this. You take the term number and multiply it by 80. So if we were to solve for the first term value in our table, we would multiply the term number 1 by 80 and solve. Then we could multiply 2 by 80 and so on to solve for all of the term numbers. By doing this, we can determine that after the 5th hour, you could travel a total of 400 kilometers. We can also represent this problem with a graph for those of us that like a visual representation. For instance, we can place our term values on the x-axis and the term numbers on the y-axis. By using the graph, we can then determine the total number of kilometers traveled at any point in the 5-hour trip by finding a point along the line on the graph. Finally, we can also express this problem with an algebraic equation. So for instance, to be consistent with our graph, let's say that the letter x is going to represent the total number of kilometers traveled. And let's make the letter y the number of hours left driving. So if you are traveling 80 kilometers per hour, we know from our table that the total number of kilometers traveled is 80, multiplied by the number of hours spent traveling. So this relationship can be represented by the equation x equals 80 times y. In our problem, we're looking for the total distance traveled after 5 hours. So if we substitute the number 5 for y, which we've already labeled as the number of hours, what do we get for x, which is the total number of kilometers? So we take our original equation and substitute 5 for y and solve, which equals 400. And this matches both our table and our graph. Amazing! Also, one of the beauties of these algebraic equations is that you can solve for any number that you want to substitute in. For example, what if we were searching for the total number of kilometers traveled after 3 hours? Again, we would take our equation and substitute 3 for y and solve, which equals 240, which again matches our table and our graph. Wow! So we've just found that the equation is just another way to represent the same problem. What a marvelous exploration. Back to you in the newsroom, Polly.